Hi everyone and welcome back. In today's video I'm going to be doing a quick tutorial on transferring, and I'm going to show you how you can transfer an image from one piece of paper to another using transfer sheets. And I just want to quickly say a big thank you to Arteza for sending me the supplies that I'm going to be using in today's video. They have some really lovely supplies and I'm sure you guys have heard of them before. I'll leave a link to their Amazon page in the description box below if you want to check them out. I particularly like their watercolor paper. You get these lovely big sheets, 32 pages of watercolor paper, 300 grams. It's really thick, it's acid free, cold press, really nice paper to work on, and it's not very expensive. And their transfer sheets are also really nice. They're nice and big, they fit very easily over the 9x12 inch watercolor paper, and you get 60 sheets in a pack. I have a digital stamp, and this is one from my Etsy shop. This is actually a free stamp that you can get up until December the 25th. With any purchase from my Etsy shop you get this stamp for free. But what I've done is I've printed this out onto cardstock, and what I want to do is I want to watercolor it, and I've printed this out with my home printer so the ink will run. So what I want to do is I want to transfer this image to my nice watercolor paper, and I could go up to a window, hold it like this, and then just let the natural sunlight shine through the paper and trace it that way. But this is pretty thick. This is 300 gram watercolor paper, and this is also a cardstock, so I'm not going to be able to see through very easily. Another way I could trace this is to use a light box, and I actually do have a light box, and I'll be doing a review on that in a couple of weeks. But having a light box is a big investment, and I do a lot of tracing, so it makes sense to me to have a light box. But if you don't have a light box, then these graphite sheets are a really good alternative. They're not expensive. You get 60 of them in a pack, so that's plenty to keep you going. And if you want to make your digital colouring pages, stamps, if you want to transfer them to different types of paper, or if you want to sketch, oftentimes I'll sketch out on scrap paper because I rub out a lot, and sometimes I can be quite heavy with my pencil. So I will sketch out and do all my designing on scrap pieces of paper. Then I will take my nice clean colouring paper, place it on top, and transfer the image onto the colouring paper, and that way I don't muck up my colouring paper. I keep it all nice and clean, and so it doesn't end up marked by heavy pencil lines or constant rubbing out, because I've ruined so many sheets of nice watercolour paper with constant rubbing out. So for me it's really very important that I sketch on one piece of paper and transfer on another, and I'm going to be using this as my example today because it's much easier to see on camera. I sketch in very light coloured pencils, so if I was showing you a sketch that I was transferring, you wouldn't be able to see it very easily. So what you want to do is you want to have the image you want to transfer, your piece of watercolour paper or marker paper or cardstock, whatever you want to transfer it onto, and you can actually, according to the packet of the transfer sheets, you can transfer it onto other surfaces like wood, metal, glass, fabric. So if you're just a crafter on the whole and you enjoy different types of crafts other than just art, then having a pack of this in the house would probably be a good idea because you can use it in multiple projects. So I'm just going to open up this and take out a sheet of this paper, and the paper is very thin. And I also just want to quickly apologise for the state of my fingers. As you can see, I have blue ink all over them, and that's because I was refilling some markers and the ink got all over my fingers, and it will be here for several days. I've tried to clean it off to no avail, and I have to do this video, so that's why my fingers are all blue. So I've got my sheet of watercolour paper, and you want to place the transfer sheet down on the dark side, so the black side down, like this. And then you want to place your image on top, face up like that. And then the next thing to do, and this is optional but I do advise it, is to grab some tape. I have some washi tape here, and you just want to secure, actually I'm just going to go ahead and going to take a tiny bit and secure the bottom piece of paper. And you definitely want to secure the transfer paper because you don't want the whole thing wobbling about as you're trying to trace, otherwise your lines won't line up and you can get into a mess very quickly that way. I'm just going to stick that down and then probably put a couple of tiny bits on the edge of this one. So now that everything's taped down, I'm now going to go ahead and transfer it. So now you can use any type of pencil, any type of pen you want. Now, if you don't want to damage or draw on the piece of paper that the image that you're transferring, because you want to use this piece of paper as well, you can always use a pen that has run out of ink. Or this pen is actually a ghost pen, and I think I got it in a kawaii box once. But you could use a ballpoint pen that's run out of ink, and you could use that to trace the drawing. The only problem with using a pen like this is that you can't see where you've traced. So you have to be very focused and make sure you don't keep going over and over the same place or miss a piece up or miss a section. So if you're using a pen that doesn't have any ink, be aware of that. Now, because I'm chatting to you guys as I'm doing this, I'm not going to be able to keep track of that. So I'm going to use this green pen to go over the lines here. And I'm trying to go over them as neatly as I can. And obviously I'm slightly twisted in an odd angle here to get round the tripod that I'm filming round. So you would be able to get a much better, a much more comfortable angle when you're tracing, I should think. So you just want to go all the way over all the lines that you want to trace. And it's also quite nice that if you've done a sketch or you've inked up a drawing and you don't like certain areas of it, you don't have to transfer all of it. You're only going to transfer the parts that you're pressing down on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and line the whole of this, and then I will pull up this and you can see how it's transferred. And there we have our transfer, and if you can look at the paper you can kind of see it etched in there. So there you can see one's transferred, and even in places like there by the eye and there by the chin I made a little mistake. You can see that the graphite has picked that up exactly. So when you're transferring, you want to be quite slow and careful when you're doing it. With that done, I can now move on with my project and go ahead and start watercolouring. And I could outline it first if I wanted to, but my sketch is down on the right paper without damaging the paper, which is the important thing. And I would like to say thank you to you all for watching, and I will see you next time.